Hi, Sath here. Delighted to be joining you again for another one of our Meet the Patron series. And today I am honoured to be chatting to none other than Esther Derby. Esther, hi. How are you
Hey,
doing?
how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good. How's things in your part of the world?
Well, it's snowy and gray and, winter in northern Minnesota.
Well, listen, Esther, thanks for joining us. I'm delighted to be doing this with you, and
Me too.
honoured to have the opportunity. So thank you for taking the time. Just to get us started in our usual fashion, it'd be wonderful if you could just do, a little introduction. You kind of need no introduction, really, but just for those who perhaps are less familiar with your work, just a little bit about yourself and perhaps a little bit about your own Agile journey.
Okay. Well, some people don't know that I started my professional career as a programmer. So some people think I only pay attention to the team stuff, and some people only that touchy-feely stuff. But I actually started as a programmer. And, I've done a lot of different things over the course of my career. I was a team lead. I did testing because we always used to do our own testing. And, I was a manager, an internal consultant. And at a certain point, I decided to turn my attention to issues in organizations and issues of leadership. And so at that point, I stopped writing code and I really put my attention to, how can we help teams function better? How can we help organizations function more effectively? So that's the background. And when I first heard about Agile, the thing that was really attractive to me about it, what attracted me was one, rigorous technical practices, super rigorous technical practices combined with teams and a highly collaborative way of working. And that just sounded terrific to me. And it reminded me of some of the best experiences I had had when I was actually writing code. So that's what attracted me to it. And in some ways, while we did not have all of the practices and we did not have all of the language, the projects that were the most fun and satisfying to work on when I was writing code, we did in an agile sort of way.
Yeah.
We'd get something working and we'd test it, and then we'd get the next thing working and test it, and we'd show it to our customers and we'd get some feedback. And, so working incrementally and learning as we went.
Brilliant.
So that's how I first became attracted to it.
And the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah.
Fab, thanks for that. Great to hear a little bit about your own sort of background. So listen, we're delighted that you've agreed to support us as a patron of the festival. It's truly awesome, and we are honoured. We truly are. So what was it that kind of made you? What is it that made you decide to kind of get involved? What excited you about it? Why have you agreed to support us?
Well, I like the energy of the people who started it, and I like the fact that it's so international, and I love the fact that it's about reflecting. Yep. The Agile Manifesto did not say we have discovered the best way to develop software. It said we're discovering better ways. And so I think this 20-year mark is a wonderful time to reflect and see not only what we learned initially, the practices that we followed initially, but what have we learned since then? What have we uncovered and discovered over the years that we've all been practicing Agile? I think that's really wonderful. And I hope it will bring some additional renewal so that we don't get stuck and codified and, this thing becomes something frozen, right? That we keep discovering. And reflection is necessary for that to happen. So I thought it was a great thing to do.
Fab. We'll come back to that again. sort of later in the conversation. But no, thanks for that. So we talked a little bit about your own kind of journey and, you know, why you agreed to support us, which is fab. Great to hear about that. So we love to ask our patrons about kind of what Agile kind of means to them. But I'm going to take a slightly different kind of look at this one, given your own background and the amazing contributions you've made to the work in the space of retrospectives. And obviously, as one of the co-authors of the kind of seminal text on the subject, what are your own reflections on the sort of last 20 years, how Agile has evolved? What's your view on that? How do you reflect on that? How would you describe it?
Well, I think in some ways, Agile has fallen into some of the hype cycles that earlier technologies have fallen into, or earlier methods have fallen into. You know, there were going to be formal methods, and there were going to be, you know, all these other things that were going to save us. And I think the core of many of those things, and certainly of Agile, is of enormous value. I think what has not happened as much is that we have not looked systemically on what holds the old patterns in place, right? And particularly in many organizations, they say, okay, we're going to bring in the Agile, and they slap it on top of their existing process.
Yep.
And the old pattern always reasserts itself.
Yeah.
So I think as I reflect on 2 decades, I think that's something that we sort of missed, is that you can't, you know, you need to look at what holds the pattern in place, not just bring about a new process, because Agile emerged from a set of conditions that made it possible for that to emerge, right? And I think we're getting better at looking at how do we create the conditions for Agile to flourish and thrive. But if I reflect back on the 20 years, that's something that really stands out to me. It was, this is a savior process. We're just slap it on top. Everything's going to be better. It doesn't work that way.
No, brilliant. So that's really good to hear that, because as you'll know, we've kind of got the 3 core themes. So, we're keen to kind of celebrate all that's good about the past. And we've got a bunch of events that speak to that. We're looking at the now, so we're exploring kind of current applications. Yep. Where are people doing interesting things with Agile, and what problems are they solving? And we've got a lot of events that speak to that. But a lot of where my interests lie personally as well is in the future. So I'm going to be hosting a few events which look to explore that. And I'm really glad you've kind of said what you've said. So it leads me nicely on to my next question, which is, alongside that kind of reflective piece, where do you feel the kind of opportunities lie for Agile over the next decade or beyond? Where are the opportunities?
Well, I think to keep discovering new things that are going to become possible when, we have different development environments, or when a new language comes along, or when the capabilities of computers change, or, just to be aware of that. And I also really hope that we become much better at changing to Agile in an Agile manner.
Okay.
Because many of the initiatives I've seen around changing to Agile have been essentially waterfall. It's like, okay, we're doing the Agile, here's our plan, roll it out, rather than learning as we go, right? So I think
good point.
That's my hope, is that we'll learn to become Agile in an Agile manner, right? Not just do a bunch of training, but really embrace the learning of it, because there is so much to learn to become really proficient in the practices, the XP engineering practices. And there's so much to learn in how do we understand our customers, and so much to learn in how do we learn to collaborate effectively? How do we, make our entire organization work more effectively, so that work is flowing into the teams in a better way? That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, spot on. I love the way you articulated that. And do you feel there's any sort of, in your experience, any sort of industries that you've worked in where you think, they're perhaps even more ripe for kind of agile transformation, ones that are kind of further behind that could really do with that kind of, disruption, so to speak?
I don't know if it's industries per se as it is companies, because every company's, has its own unique sort of culture and way of organizing. And so I don't see it so much on the industry level as I see it that some companies are really ready for it.
Yeah. No, I think we can all relate to that.
I do have a hope that, at a certain point, and it's been 20 years, so it's probably at that point, there are people around who have only known an agile way of working. Right? They may never have been exposed to a requirements document this thick, right? Where you had to sign off on everything and you had all of your little gates and ticking off your tasks, but never actually delivering software. So that may mean that, as as a software industry, we might hit a tipping point at some time. Because there are lots of people who I met who I tell them about working on waterfall projects and they're like, why would anyone ever, why would they do that? Well, I mean, waterfall works for certain kinds of projects. I mean, if you can actually know the requirements up front, it works very well. It's just we don't have many projects like that anymore.
You've got very little uncertainty and exactly what needs to be done and when it needs to be done by, and it can all be achieved. Then fill your boots, as it were. No, you made me just think there. So I was thinking about how we talk about technology and how we've kind of got to this point where we've all got mobile phones and mobile's ubiquitous. And my children, for example, are like digital natives. So when you were talking there, I was thinking of like the agile native.
So this computer has vastly more memory and vastly more computer processing capability than the first computer I owned, which weighed 52 pounds. 52 pounds. It was a luggable. It was not a portable. It was a luggable.
We've made some progress, it's safe to say.
Yeah, some.
No, brilliant. Great to hear your insight there. Right, I'm gonna lighten the mood a little bit. We've obviously talked about quite a lot of stuff there in the industry and the journey and where the opportunities are. So a little bit of fun for a moment, if you will, before we kind of close out with a few questions.
I'm ready for something really fun.
So I don't know how fun it is. We'll see what you think in a minute. So if you could be any age, for a week, say from next week for the sake of argument, what age would you choose and why?
I would choose to be exactly the age I am now.
Brilliant.
because it's the culmination of all of my experiences and all of the things I've learned that have brought me to this point. And I don't want to discount any of those. And it's not like everything I've been through in my life has been fun. I have some regrets, but I don't think I'd go back. Did you watch Game of Thrones? Did you happen to follow that series?
Season one? I have to be honest.
Oh well,
I didn't get past season one.
Yeah. Well, there's a scene at the very end, near the very end, where there's this.
It's a spoiler moment. What if I go back to it?
Well, you won't remember it. So there's this, because I won't tell the story in a way that's going to be coherent enough. So there's this character who exists throughout all of those series, and she starts out as kind of a frivolous young woman, and then she is forced into several dynastic marriages, one of which is to a cruelly abusive man. And at the end of the series, someone says something to her about regretting all these horrible things that happened to her. And her response is something like, and I'm not going to get quoted exactly, but something like, if these things hadn't happened, I would still be that little bird. I would still be that frivolous little bird, as opposed to the spine of steel, strong, decisive woman, resilient woman she had become.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't go back.
So those experiences have shaped her and hardened her, and
and I think that's true for all of us.
Women she's good. Yeah, I think so. I think that's a brilliant way to look at it.
I just want to see what's coming next.
Love it. Love it. No, that's brilliant. Absolutely. Great answer. That's a great answer. Not what I was expecting, but no, that's great. So listen then, and just before we kind of wrap up, get some closing remarks from you, some words of wisdom.
Oh.
What's your hope for the festival? What's your aspiration for the festival? What are you hoping we can achieve by doing what we've set out to do?
Well, I hope you can reach a bunch of people that might not have known about Agile before. I hope you can get some people to take a look and say, oh, maybe I'm stuck in a rut. Maybe I do need to, rethink how I'm approaching things. I hope we can get people to look at the whole swath of it and say, oh my, look at what we've accomplished. Look at what we learned. Look at all these new things we discovered along the way. How can we continue to be agile in an agile manner and just be conscious of what we're learning?
That's great. That's a nice thought. We definitely want that reflective piece, because actually the original idea when a number of us started to talk about it was to do a global retrospective. You might be interested to hear, and then to be honest, it felt like that was a little bit too modest, and then we wanted it to be much more of a kind of celebratory thing.
Yeah.
And then it's grown into this festival, and it's actually, the idea is based on the Edinburgh Festival, funnily enough. All that kind of does and kind of stands for. So no, brilliant. That's really good to hear. Any sort of closing, sort of overall sort of thoughts or remarks, words of wisdom for us?
Oh, well,
some inspiration.
Words of wisdom on short notice.
Sure, we could rely on you to give us something.
Well, do the best you can and learn from what happens.
Yeah, it's
and
right,
if you don't like the situation you're in, look at it and see what you can change from where you sit, from where you are, to make things a little bit better.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. No, it's definitely, we're definitely setting out to do something what we feel is experimental.
Yeah.
Don't think this has kind of been done before, and we're definitely all about bringing people together, as my background says, and a lot of us have been driven by that. Been really keen to be, we're motivated by that, and that's driven us forward. And it's been amazing to see that the community coming together, and me having the opportunity to chat to you today as one of our patrons. It's been a real honour. So listen,
it's been lovely.
You. Thank you for your time, and thanks for your insights. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy hearing your thoughts. So thanks for that. And just to close us out, that was the awesome Esther Derby sharing her thoughts on Agile20Reflect and sharing her own journey and background, and it was delightful to hear it. We're only a few weeks away now, folks, so still plenty of opportunity to get involved. We've now got over 120 events in the programme for the month of February, and that continues to grow, so do get those events in there. If you'd like to host an event, do anything to mark the occasion, you're welcome to do so. It's free. Just go on our website and add your event in. If you need some support from us, reach out to the central team. We're happy to help, whether that's advice on hosting, anything that might be. And I also will be hosting an event I'm really looking forward to, one of the many that I am hosting, which will be with all of the patrons. So Esther will kindly join us for that one. But we'll have all the patrons there, and I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a unique event, bringing all of our wonderful patrons together. So if you're interested to hear more from Esther and Lisa and Alistair and all the folk that you've perhaps seen on the various interviews we've done, do tune in for that one. It's on the 1st of Feb, so you'll find it in the calendar. And we hope you'll join us and celebrate with us. And as I say, it's only a few weeks away now, so do get involved. We'd love you to be part of it. And that's it for now. And look out for Simon Wardley's interview, which will be our last one of the series, and I hope to bump into you somewhere along the way and during the festival. So thanks again. Speak soon.